Alright guys, welcome back to Stellar Blade. So PlayStation recently dropped a whole slew of new stuff, including some brand new gameplay showing off the combat system, giving us a little bit of a closer look at the combat system, which is very much appreciated. On top of that, more story details, and even a new character reveal. So let's dive into it. The first thing that I need to talk about here is the leaked file size. So take this with a grain of salt. It is just a leak. It's come from a Twitter account. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be what this person is saying it is, but the leaked file size suggests that it's going to be 35 gigs. Now, I've seen a little bit of conversation surrounding this, with some people being a little bit concerned with it being so small. As we know, most AAA titles, considering that Stellar Blade is one, generally comes out anywhere over 60 gigs, so I think a lot of people are taking this as, oh, okay, game is small. But do keep in mind, the director of Stellar Blade has mentioned that the story will take about 25 hours to finish up, and then looking at completionist run, you're looking at like 50 hours. So this isn't a small game by any means. We also have to think about how the PS5 compresses games quite well, most of the time. If we're, not looking at Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that game is actually a massive game in its own right. It is 149 gigs. This is just a leak. It may be a bit bigger, but even if it is only 35 gigs, there will be reasons behind that. And still, don't take this as confirmation that the game is going to be small. It's semi-open world. We know there's a decent amount of playtime here. And no doubt the game has probably faced a fair amount of compression. So we've got 4 new gameplay clips here. The first one demonstrates basic attacks. So by the description, it reads that Eve's quick and strong attacks are simple, sharp, and brutal. This tells us that there is going to be quick and strong attacks, quick likely being square, strong likely being triangle, like a lot of action-orientated games. One thing I have noticed though is it just looks so satisfying to hit things in this game. You see like the blood splatters kind of coming out and literally dropping to the ground. That's a nice attention to detail piece. But I think for any sort of action RPG or hack and slash title, which this is more of a hack and slash, it's important that the devs get a system down where it actually feels good and there is some sort of response towards hitting things. I know this sounds a little bit stupid, but seeing how enemies react to being hit with them flailing around the place and the blood effects. On top of that, we also know that haptic feedback is also confirmed here for Stellar Blade 2. That's an extra layer of immersion. One thing I noticed for this combo here too is partway through the combo, Eve's sword glows red. I do wonder if this is indicating that you can perhaps, at this part of the combo, then charge up the attack to follow up with a different combo or stronger attack, maybe holding down the strong attack button. But a basic combo looks very satisfying and fun to use. Also, when you're locked onto enemies, you do have a scan system where you can actually see the enemy's health bar. The next clip demonstrates beta attacks. These are the special attacks that are bound to holding down L1 and pressing the corresponding button. The beta energy is used in order to pull these off, and beta energy is accumulated via dealing normal damage with normal attacks. You'll be able to unlock more of these beta attacks via the skill tree. The animation department of Shift Up have done a fabulous job here with animating some really cool looking strong attacks. I did notice with this scene right here, as Eve finishes off this enemy with a beta attack, parts of the enemy's body flies off. We know that this game has a mature rating for specifically the sexual themes, but on top of that too, violence. This is definitely a violent looking title. And so yeah, for normal enemies, when you're using these beta attacks against them, sometimes limbs are going to fly off. We'll look at range combat here as well as an explanation towards it. I just have to say that it looks super satisfying again to use the ranged combat. Like generally when it comes to hack and slash titles, the main focus point is certainly the melee combat, but here even the ranged combat with the various guns that you can use looks great. I think just overall the combat system is actually looking really satisfying, minus the fact that yes, okay, there is that attraction factor with the main character, and it's a very intentional thing from Shift Up's behalf, I think what they have here is also a very competent gameplay system. So first thing, there is going to be multiple different ranged weapons. We have what looks like just a normal pistol thing known as Slug. We've got a shotgun shell. We've got a homing missile stinger weapon. We've got an explosive shell grenade launcher type thing. A big blaster beam weapon. You can rearrange and change what sort of ranged weapon you have at an upgrade console, as well as upgrading what is known as a drone. The drone is your ranged weapon. I don't know if that is the same drone that flies next to you and follows you around like the pod from Nier Automata, but as you're dealing damage to an enemy, eventually their balance will be disturbed. When this balance is disturbed, which I'm only assuming is this gauge on the heads-up display just underneath the enemy's health meter, a weak spot of the enemy will appear, and to do the most damage to this weak spot, you will shoot them with your ranged weapon. So ranged combat is just as important here as, of course, melee combat. Also, adaptive triggers are confirmed for Stellar Blade, so no doubt for when using ranged weapons, the adaptive triggers will activate. And finally, a clip, as well as an explanation, describing burst attacks. So burst attacks are different to beta attacks. These are like your ultimate moves that will do the most damage. They have their own resource gauge, and to accumulate points towards this resource gauge, you need to pull off perfect dodges. So I love how there is some form of like encouragement towards using perfect dodges. Aside from just being able to get out of harm's way, you will accumulate resource to pull off burst attacks, and these look ridiculously cool. So we have a brand new story synopsis here for Stellar Blade, just in case some of you guys are a little bit confused about the narrative that's going on for this game. The official PlayStation page reads, "Ravaged by strange, powerful creatures, Earth has been abandoned, and what is left of the decimated human race has fled to a colony in outer space. After traveling from the colony, 7th Airborne Squad member Eve arrives on the desolate remains of our planet with a clear-cut mission to save humankind by reclaiming Earth from the Natiba, the malevolent force that has devastated it. But as Eve tackles the Natiba one by one, piecing together the mysteries of the past in the ruins of human civilization, she realizes that her mission is far from straightforward. In fact, almost nothing is as it seems." So again, it is a little bit similar in regards to that of Nier Automata, just in the sense of the remains of humanity are now living in space, with Earth being overtaken by a specific force. For Nier Automata, you have obviously the Yorha, who are androids, and Earth for thousands of years has been overtaken by machines. For Stellar Blade, there's still remnants of humanity living on Earth. We will be able to explore one of the human settlements known as Zion and take side quests up there, help people out, see the struggles they're dealing with from day-to-day life with the Natiba infestation of the planet. I feel like it is important to mention though that this game has, for good reason, had a lot of comparisons to Nier Automata, but people should definitely know that, for one, this game has been personally endorsed by Yoko Taro. One of the composers who worked on Nier Automata is working on Stellar Blade. Shift Up have also worked with Square Enix and Yoko Taro to bring 2B to their mobile phone game Nikke, and the director of Stellar Blade has even mentioned that Nier Automata is one of the key inspirations for this game. No, personally, I don't believe that Stellar Blade is just blatantly ripping off Nier Automata. It's very clear that inspiration strings are being pulled here, but I think that's as far as it goes. There is nothing wrong with using different sources of inspiration to build something also great. And finally, we got some new information on a new character known as Taki. She actually did appear in the most recent trailer, very briefly, but she is the leader of the 7th Airborne Squad. Of course, our main two sidekicks will be both Lily and Adam, but just because she's sort of chucked into this category of being a companion, she'll likely also have a lot of screen time as well. And oh my god, they just continue to deliver with these character models, man. There is also a digital deluxe edition for Stellar Blade, though I personally will be going physical. It's cool to know that you get some extra little benefits here for getting the deluxe. You'll get the Stargazer suit for Eve, the half-rim glasses accessories, the quadruple rectangle earrings, the Stargazer coat for Lily, the Stargazer wear for Adam, the Stargazer pack for your drone. You'll get 2,000 SP XP and 5,000 gold in-game currency. see. It's a pretty standard digital deluxe edition. I'm not generally down on handing the player stuff like XP and gold for a deluxe edition. I'd rather just accumulate it myself via just playing the game. Stuff like cosmetics is usually a fine thing. Now, at least looking at Eve's Digital Deluxe Edition outfit right here, this is in the game, except it's a different color. So the Digital Deluxe Edition gives you recolors of already existing stuff that is in the game that you can acquire. So don't worry, you're not gonna like miss out on anything. It's just simply a different color. So for the time being, that is everything you need to know about Stellar Blade, keeping you guys updated on the Stellar Blade situation. If you guys have missed any of my other Stellar Blade content, I recommend that you go check that out to give you a better idea as to what this game is about. I've got quite a lot of content now talking about this, as I'm fairly excited for it. I think the more that we see of this, the more that we hear and learn about it, it just sounds like a really good time. You know, outside of the whole, okay, this is the reason why it's gaining traction, I think this just looks like a good-ass video game. However, guys, that's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to TGJ to keep up with all the latest. Be sure to check out my other social media platforms. And as always, thank you so much to the Turkey-tastic patrons. I appreciate the big boys' support. I'm Cynical, hopefully having a fantastic day, and we'll talk real soon.